We are the 9th Congress of Brain, Emotion, and Behavior in Sao Paulo. I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Adrian Raine. He is a psychologist, and he works as a professor in criminology, psychology, and psychiatry in the University of Pennsylvania. Thank you for being here and answer these 2 questions that I'm going to make you. I would like to know, right now, what's your main interest in the area that you work at, or what do you think is the hot spot in your area that's going to make you get more interest or more attached to in your work?
Well, there are many things I'm interested in my research currently and in the future, but certainly I'm fascinated by brain mechanisms and how they can predispose to the violent mind. So, for example, we've been doing research showing that individuals with poor functioning in the very frontal region of the brain are more likely to be antisocial and aggressive. And that's because the very frontal region of the brain is like the guardian angel on behavior. It controls our impulsive behavior, and it helps us regulate our emotions. So we all get angry at times. What stops us lashing out? It's that prefrontal region of the brain that controls and regulates behavior. We know that the amygdala, the emotion center of the brain, is structurally and functionally impaired in psychopaths, those criminal offenders that don't experience emotions in the way that we do. They don't experience fear in the way that we do. And if you lack fear, you're more likely to break the rules of society because you're not involved about being caught. So understanding brain mechanisms that can predispose or give rise to violence is, I think, a sort of fascinating area to me, because it's really just in the past few years where we've been able to literally look inside the minds of murderers, to brain scan them and see that there is indeed a brain and biological basis to crime and violence. Why is that exciting? It's because for the past decades we've been focusing on only one side of the coin, the social side of the coin. But what we're doing now, through brain imaging and molecular genetics and other neuroscience techniques, is turning the coin over and looking at the other side, the genetic, the biological, and neurochemical basis to crime and violence. So what excites me a lot is understanding the causal mechanisms which predispose some people to crime and violence. It's only when we can begin to understand the causes of behavior that we can really do something to prevent it and intervene and stop crime and violence in society.
What's in your idea this is going to be from now in the next 10 years? How your area of work, or what's your wish about that is going to happen?
My main wish over the next 10 years is that we'll be able to take the basic science knowledge that we have learnt about the biological basis to crime and violence, and my hope is we'll be able to do something to reverse the biological impairments that do in part give rise to crime and violence. We've got some beginning ideas that I think are really fascinating and we can build on. David Olds did a fascinating study where nurses went to pregnant mothers telling them, don't smoke cigarettes, don't drink alcohol. This is what your baby needs for nutrition. These are the needs of your infant in the first 2 years of life. And that intervention reduced juvenile delinquency in the offspring 15 years later by 50%. So there's an intervention which is totally acceptable, it's benign, it's social in a way, but it takes away the biological risk factors for crime. Smoking during pregnancy, mothers taking alcohol during pregnancy, mothers pregnant with poor nutrition. These are factors that impair brain functioning, which can, at a later time, give rise to violence. Also, omega-3, fish oil. There are 2 randomized controlled trials currently showing that if you give fish oil to young offenders, that reduces serious offending in prisons by 34%. Why is that? Well, omega-3 is rich in a fatty acid which is critical for brain structure and function. It makes up 35% of the cell membrane. It regulates gene expression. And so we can do things through something as simple as better nutrition to improve the brain, to improve behavior. And so those are just two examples of, I think, what we can do even now to reverse the biological brain impairments that we find in offenders. In the future, perhaps we can use new novel techniques to stop crime and violence. For example, mindfulness training or meditation. That has been shown in randomized controlled trials to enhance frontal lobe functioning, enhance activity in that part of the brain that we find to be functioning more poorly in offenders. So, it sounds simple, but could mindfulness training or meditation to aggressive children, aggressive adolescents, or even young offenders in prison do something about reducing further offending? We can certainly change the brain for the better, and I would like to see us do more of this in the future, and I would be very excited to see these type of developments, which are just really beginning now to flourish, and we test out these ideas further in the future.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adrian. See you in 10 years.